Willkommen.
Bienvenue.
Bienvenue.
To Awkwardness.
Welcome to the Awkwardness Podcast, where we get very cool musicians to talk to us about a time when they were less cool, when they first started playing music, and they play us one of the first songs they ever wrote. Then we talk about what kept them going and why they're so awesome now. We're your hosts. I'm Rose Sean.
I'm Terence LeClaire.
And I'm Tony Tancredi.
I'm pretty sure our guest today was never uncool by any metric. He's tall, he's handsome, he dresses nice, and he makes smoking cigarettes look really glamorous. Kind of like if James Dean lived in the 90s and sang like Ray LaMontagne.
That's good.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Jameson Burt has been performing since he was in high school. He's played festivals with Eddie Vedder and Glenn Hansard, opened for Rival Sons, has a publishing deal with BMG, and has toured Italy with Vasco Rossi, the Italian Bruce Springsteen, playing to tens of thousands of people, just him and his guitar. You should really keep listening to hear what a 9-string guitar sounds like in skilled hands, the benefits of benign neglect, and how the heck he ended up in Italy. Here's our little fireside chat with Jameson Burt.
All right. That's a beautiful opening.
I know.
Thank you.
Oh, hi,
Welcome,
Jameson.
Jameson.
So good to see you, brother.
Welcome to Awkwardness.
Yeah.
Welcome to Awkwardness.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
That's a beautiful. So real quick, that is a 9-string guitar.
9.
Right.
I've never even
And
heard of that.
it's like half a 12-string and like half a 6-string.
Yeah, so the normal acoustic guitar I play is just like a normal 6-string. That was my dad's.
Wow.
He got it when he was a teenager. It's like an old Yamaha. So that's what he just kind of, when I started playing, he let me use that as much as I want. I still use that. I still like record with it and stuff. But this morning when I was changing the tuning, it snapped a string right before I came over. So he had this one. He has this one just sitting around. Guitar was just like a hobby for him. But he did teach me like in the very beginning. And then, so yeah, this thing was just sitting around and I was lucky to grab it before I left the house. But yeah, it
sounds beautiful.
It's a 9-string, so it's like the highest strings are doubled and the low ones aren't, compared to like a 12-string where they're all.
Yeah.
So you have one off though, right?
Yeah, that one's broken as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's technically an
It's
an
fine.
8-string
Eight
today.
strings is plenty.
We have enough. We have enough to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
More than enough strings.
So yeah, man. Like, so you started playing your dad's guitar. Like, how did that first come to you? Like, in terms of just like wanting to play the guitar.
Yeah, I mean, my dad played like when I was as early as I can remember. He just like knew Beatles songs and like stuff like that. He would like sing at night and sing me to sleep sometimes, that kind of thing. So it was like he was always offering to teach me from, really early age. And my older brother, he started teaching him, but I was like busy skateboarding. And then these two, so I wasn't really interested. I always loved listening to music, but I didn't have any aspirations to play when I was like 10 years old. But when I was 12, these two brothers moved into the neighborhood, like down the street. They were like the same age, and one was a drummer and one was a guitar player. And their parents, who were a little iffy, let them
Sketch.
set up in like the spare bedroom and just play as loud as they fucking wanted. Like,
Oh, what a great
no limit.
neighbor to
Lucky.
have, actually, for you.
So I remember like the first day, we'd been hanging out and stuff, and then the first day I went over there and they were playing in their bedroom. It just like completely blew my mind.
Yeah.
So loud. They sucked.
Yeah. But still, it's like, what
At
at
the
the
time.
time?
Yeah. Was it like
Axis.
punk or what were they
Your
playing?
parents let you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what they were playing. It's
Just
like-
loud.
We were all into like classic rock and stuff. They
Yeah,
just were
yeah.
like making shit up and just
Yeah.
slamming
Yeah.
loud in their bedroom. So like after that, I seriously went straight home. I was like, all right, Dad, teach me to play. Teach me to play guitar.
I want to be a
I
part
love
of
it. You
this.
walked straight
Whatever
home.
this
Yeah.
is, I want to
Pretty
be a
much,
part of
yeah.
this.
And was that Yamaha? Like he just
It
had
was.
the acoustic? Yeah.
It was.
Nice.
And to my parents' credit, I mean, they were always been super supportive, but they did make me like, because I wanted to play electric guitar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they made me learn on his acoustic, which was kind of a shitty one, so it was harder to play.
Yeah.
But they made me do that for like 6 months before they bought me an electric guitar.
To see
like
if you were
prove
like
yourself.
To
Yeah.
see if
Yeah.
I was going to be, dedicated to it. And
Yeah.
I just played like every day. So,
My
would-
parents did the same thing. They were like, we are not buying you a new guitar until you prove that you're really going to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to play
So
the one
what'd you
already
get
have.
in 6 months?
It was just some, entry level like Epiphone or something.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it was a
nice.
little Les Pauly kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
always like with the Squire starter packs or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like the kind of like entrance, like
It was basically that. Yeah.
nice. It's a
Yeah.
good way to like just get into it, but like
It's perfect.
eventually like you would like kind of you're like I need a better sound than this, like
Well, I think when you
Yeah.
get good enough to even start thinking about tone,
Yeah.
right? Like, because when you're just learning to play G chords, it's
tone
not
does
going to
not
sound
matter.
good no matter
and
what.
especially like electric, you just want something you can crank,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. When you're doing it at the beginning, he's like, you don't know any better. It sounded like godly to me at the time.
Yeah.
Love
You know.
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because they came like the Epiphones, like they come with those little amps too. Because was it like a Les Paul kind of like?
yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
Les Paul Jr.
Love those,
knockoff or
yeah.
something like that. The amp, I don't remember, some little practice amp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can crank
But
those. They're-
It took me like maybe a year or two in before I got something like kind of proper.
Yeah.
And what was that guitar?
It was a G&L.
Nice.
Oh.
It's a G&L, so I don't know if you guys know about those, but it's like when Leo Fender sold Fender to like a corporation, he started making G&L. So it was basically a Fender.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But I still,
I
those
did
are
not know
still
that.
like my guitar I currently like tour with and stuff.
Is
a
that the
G&L.
telly body one?
The first one I had was kind of like more like a Strat,
Yeah, yeah.
but like some 80s like heavy metal kind of Strat. Like it looked kind of like an Ibanez.
Yeah.
The one I have now is like a Strat, yeah.
So how soon into this effort did you start writing stuff?
So I was into classic rock, Clapton and Hendrix and stuff like that, Led Zeppelin and stuff. But the first like long period of me being into music was I didn't want to sing. I didn't see myself like being a singer. I just was obsessed with playing guitar. So I started writing pretty soon, but just like little guitar, things like. And then honestly, a huge turning point for me was getting into Joe Satriani.
Oh, yeah.
nice, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Super nerdy.
No, but that makes sense. Yeah.
But like it blew my mind because I was like, oh my God, this guy's like writing, there's no vocals, but it's like songs. It's like melodies. And I was like, I didn't even know that kind of music was possible. So I started kind of imitating that and like writing songs like with the melody just on the guitar and got to record some of that stuff. And I was like in, early high school. And then started playing in bars, but again, I like didn't want to sing. Like my guitar teacher at the time was like, dude, someone in your band has to sing. I was like, no, I don't want to sing. So we started playing like little bars and taverns and stuff, but I would just learn doing covers and some of my original stuff, but like I would just learn all the melodies on the guitar.
Oh, interesting.
So we just played for like 3 hours, just like me, probably just to the layperson, it's like, oh, great, you're playing a guitar solo for 3 hours.
Well, it's like the Shadows or something, Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
What covers would you do?
Like Hendrix and
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Santana and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
well,
cool.
so you had chops.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had way
Jameson's-
more chops then than I do now.
What?
Were you like studying all the
I
time?
could see that though,
Guitar-wise.
because it's a different focus. I mean, when you're singing, you're not going to be
Oh, yeah.
playing some like screaming solo.
Right.
Yeah, but so you were how old and playing in bars? And this was like,
Really like started when I was like 15,
yeah.
15, 16, like 15 to 18. I was like playing in bars.
And did they pay you?
Rarely.
That's the old story.
No, maybe when I was like 17, like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
started getting like more like restaurants that
50
had
bucks.
live music. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Seemed
I've
like
been
a lot
there.
at the time.
Dive bars pay with drinks, but
Oh, totally.
But yeah, but
when
you
you're
can't
under 18,
drink.
I know you're like,
Right.
great.
Yeah, no drink
I'll
tickets
take
for
some
you.
pretzels,
Right.
thanks. Yeah.
Right.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And were you playing that on that old Strat?
Yeah.
That like Ibanez one, the G&L?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, would people really like engage, or was it just kind of like people drinking and like, oh,
I don't think I looked up very much.
oh,
So I don't know.
so who knows? They might have been really into it, and you just couldn't
I
see
don't know.
them.
I mean, like my family would come,
Oh, yeah.
and my friends and stuff. They seemed like they were.
They seemed
so
into
cool.
it.
But I don't know. That's funny. I don't remember really paying attention to if anyone else was
Right, you're probably just like,
into
don't
it.
mess up.
I was just
Yeah.
stoked to have somewhere to play. Like they let us play here, and I could do whatever I want. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really cool. They must have been really proud because, like, at that age to just be kind of like so into something and be like,
Going
doing
after
well
it.
and going after it. That's really cool. Was your brother playing too, or is it just you?
He was playing drums.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, yeah.
Oh, so that's cool. The family comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in a family band. That sounds so great.
Yeah. It's a good
So
experience.
then you, I think I read online that you started playing in LA while you were still in high school? You were.
I was probably like just out of high school. Okay. So when I was, I think like 18, by that point I'd started singing a little bit. Like I'd finally given into starting to, still playing in the bars, but like, and not writing my own like vocal music, not writing lyrics really, but I got through like friends of friends when I was like 18, these like a little bit older guys were looking for a guitar player for their band, this band, Steve Carson Band. They were like looking for a new lead guitar player, and I met with them and joined the band. And pretty quick with them, like got into like I was singing backup, but got into like the writing process and like an actual original band that was like playing in clubs and like kind of seemed super serious at the time. It was. So I think that really gave me like over like a year or two until I was maybe like 20, 21, gave me like more confidence in like doing proper music. So.
Like that was a thing people might want.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I think just being part of the creative process with Steve and those guys like made me feel like a little more confident.
Yeah, like I can do this.
I think I can do this, yeah. So that's really when I started writing like, so I've been writing for like guitar music for like 5 years, but that's when I started like having the balls to write lyrics and sing out front and stuff.
So it was just kind of the experience of like being in a band with people who were writing original music that got you there.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect, like having them take my ideas seriously, you know. I mean, I wasn't like giving lyric suggestions to the lead singer, but just being part of the creative, because we'd write in the same room. You know? It was a pretty cool band. It really, like, it was a great experience for me.
Were they all much older? Like,
yeah, I mean, I was like 18, 19, and they were like maybe 30.
That's awesome.
Oh
wow. Yeah, no, that must have been really
like
validating.
To
have these like older seasoned guys be like, yeah, that's a good idea, man.
Totally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's awesome.
And they were great guys. And like Steve and I are still like pretty much best friends. We still are.
That's so awesome.
In touch all the time. Yeah. He's been super important to me. So,
what kind of music was it? Like, if you had to like,
I guess like alternative rock, so like in the sort of Coldplay-ish, vein, I guess. Maybe a little more rock than that, but.
That's cool. Was it music that you were like into at the time, or were you like
I was super into it. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I was super into it. I'd like Coldplay had kind of just come out.
Oh yeah,
and that like that first record, I still think is amazing. But
it is. It's gold.
But Steve was into like Travis and Duncan Sheik and singer-songwriter rock band.
Travis is great.
Oh, I loved Travis.
Yeah.
What venues were you guys playing?
I know Tony probably remembers. Maybe you guys too. There was that venue Sing Sing that was
in Irvine.
In Irvine.
Yeah,
I remember playing the Gig in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Gig. Does that still exist?
I don't think so. The Sing Sing is like a Hollister now, and the Gig is probably like a
I think
Forever 21.
The Gig might be before my time in LA.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah, and the most important one, Gypsy Lounge.
Oh
in Lake
man,
Forest,
Mike Conception. Shout out to Mike, because that guy rules, and he was doing something really cool at this venue.
Is that Bordello? Is that
this was down in Orange County, in like a strip mall. It was the only thing happening in this strip mall.
No way.
And this guy Mike made this place come alive with all these dope bands who were like, he would break bands. He would have bands come and play, and then like they would be huge in the next couple.
It was
months.
like the Shanae.
He knew what was coming. He knew like cool stuff.
That's so cool.
The Shanae of Orange County.
Yeah,
he was.
You know that place, Shanae, in New York. That's where Buckley would play and all it was a place in St. Mark's Place that was like
sweet.
A little hole in the wall cafe, but like all these amazing like people like Glenn Hansard played there and stuff and all that.
Yeah, same vibes,
Right.
Did I see that you toured with him or something?
Glenn Hansard?
Yeah.
I did a festival with him in Italy.
Oh,
sweet.
So cool.
Yeah. What?
It was like him and Eddie Vedder were
wow.
and I was on tour in Italy opening for this Italian artist. And because I was on, which was like a pretty big deal for me. This was in like 2019. Because I was on that tour with this guy, like while I was out, they're like, "Hey, we got you a spot at this festival." I was like playing first.
So
you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Who cares? That's so sweet.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm like a Pearl Jam fan necessarily. I mean, I like some of the like 10 record that was. You know, when
that
I was
record
a kid
was,
here. And
we were just talking about that with Frank.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But like Eddie was playing solo, you know, just like he just had like a couple of guitars and a piano, and
oh wow,
that dude's he's got something. Like, whether you like that band or not, he was really
He plays every year at Ohana Fest. That's his festival. And people are
Oh,
walking
yeah,
around
San
wearing
Diego,
shirts
yeah.
that say, "It doesn't get Eddie better than this."
Genius.
I want
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah, they're like $50.
I definitely want to come back to
I
the
know.
touring in Italy because I have a lot of questions about that. But
Sure.
we'll just stay in the early stages.
Yeah, you
so
haven't
you're
started
20-ish.
Writing your own songs yet, like let's go back to like you're co-writing, but you haven't quite yet written your own songs, right?
Yeah, co-writing with Steve Carson Band and those guys, and then pretty quickly, within a year or two, like feeling like, well, when I was like 20, 21, feeling like maybe I have something of my own to say,
Yeah.
So yeah, I started writing a bunch, and made like an EP with Johnny, our buddy Johnny Wilson.
So was that the dawn of Whistler?
Yeah.
Like,
The
okay.
Dawn
Yeah,
of
I
Whistler.
started
Whistler.
under the name Whistler. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like a
I
band name.
saw a lot of those shows too.
Yeah.
You guys killed it.
So
Thanks, man.
where did you record?
Initially, just like the Steve Carson guys, we had this rehearsal space, and I just had some like little hard disk recorder.
Oh, wow.
So like on non-rehearsal days, I would go in there, and they were cool enough to like let me use the drums, let me use whatever.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I started like just playing everything myself, basically on like my early recording. So because I play drums a little bit as well.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Yeah.
I do not. Drums are a mystery to me.
Oh yeah.
Drums
so
are
fun.
like,
I don't play them well.
How did they come into picture? Like, were you just on your own, or was it like out of necessity to like write your stuff?
The two brothers that I met when I was 12 that I told you guys about,
Oh,
the
yeah.
one was a drummer, one was a guitar player, and I didn't know either. So they both just kind of like
Yeah.
started giving me tips. Like, so
Oh,
I
cool.
technically started both at the same time, but
Hell yeah,
I
shout
never
out.
like dove in hard to drums. I think my goal was like to play well enough that I could record
Yeah.
drums,
Yeah.
and then put over stuff over the top of it.
right.
Nice.
It's
So,
kind of a cool,
smart.
Yeah.
kind of a cool opportunity though, really, to have that space like your neighbor's house where you're just like allowed to make noise. Because I mean, especially in the city, like most people have to rent a rehearsal space to just bang on drums until they figure it out. And it's just
Totally.
like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go next door to, Jimmy and Joe's house and play until I'm tired, I guess.
Super lucky that their
Yeah.
parents were a little bit degenerate.
Aw, Jimmy and Joe.
Yeah, my,
Is it Jimmy and Joe?
my
It's
mom
not-
calls that benign neglect. When like you're sort of left alone, but nobody gets hurt.
Yeah. Was it still, so you're like, I can do this. Was it kind of like writing songs in that same style, or kind of at that point you're like, I'm into a different thing?
I think it was fairly similar style. I mean, I'd grown up listening to, the Beatles and the Beach Boys and Joni Mitchell and Van Morrison, all that stuff. Like my dad turned me onto that stuff, just classic like singer-songwriter kind
Yeah.
of thing from when I was young. And then again, like the Coldplay thing, them coming out was like, I mean, I was into Radiohead and Coldplay and that kind of era. So I think when I started, it was like trying to do something sort of like that,
Do you have something from that time you want to play us?
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking about like what I was going to play, but I think the first handful of songs I wrote, like where I was singing, I think I've forgotten them like on purpose. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that happens.
Never recorded them and
Sandcastles.
For a reason,
Yep.
probably.
written
Yeah.
down in a notebook somewhere, but yeah, I can play something that's off like the first EP that we did. Yeah, it's called New Name.
Dried up is a river. Imagination dries till your loved ones scatter. Pain holds your hand. It's your new name. At night And as you grow old, nowhere is home. Pain holds your hand, it's your new name. At night, when no one's there, who's to blame? Tell me who's to blame. Tell me who's to blame. Who's to blame?
Oh my gosh, that's exactly as I remember it.
That was very beautiful. That's a really good
wow.
song. And
Thank
that was
you.
one of your early ones, you say. A
Yeah.
likely story. No. Do you want to tell us what it's about, or do you remember?
So yeah, it wasn't like the first song that popped out of my head, but it was in the early. It was like in the early days, and I think I'd been writing mostly about heartbreak that I'd gone and searched for. And this, I don't know, it's like the first song that I wrote about, and just like about a family member that had kind of like isolated herself and like kind of pushed people away. So yeah, it was I think the first time I'd written something that wasn't just like, I love you and
Yeah.
you don't like me enough,
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the one of the ones that kind of stuck around and I will still play,
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, you should.
Thanks.
But that's interesting, yeah, because like, I feel like most people probably start with the whole heartbreak thing. So that's like, I think for a 21-year-old kid, like a pretty deep thing to write about or to even kind of notice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, and no offense, guys, but guys aren't always super emotionally astute in their early 20s.
Oh no, that comes much later.
You're
If
like,
ever.
I am totally
40s.
emotionally astute now.
Thank you, Brittany.
Your style of playing, I love it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the finger picking, did it come from like some kind of like folk, like, I mean, other than like Lindsey Buckingham and like people who play electric, like
Dude,
picking.
that's funny you mention that
Yeah.
because that's totally what it is. It's
Really?
totally Lindsey Buckingham.
He's
Yeah,
the
because
best.
I was more like, I mean, rhythm and like lead guitar, but like I remember this guy I was studying with for a few years, like as a teenager. He made me learn some Fleetwood Mac songs
Wow.
because he's like, you need to learn to play with your fingers and to kind of like, I mean, that guy's the master of like solo,
Yeah.
pop guitar playing or whatever. So yeah, he was huge influence on me.
Wow. Because you
At
still
that
play like
time.
that with electric too? Like,
Sometimes, I mean, like with a band and stuff, it's not that often that I'm like
Sure.
finger picking, but it comes in handy like for like solo.
it's really pretty. It's good stuff.
Thanks, man.
I saw that you work with your brother sometimes. Like, is
Mm-hmm.
that just drumming, or like, did you guys just kind of start doing that immediately because, geographical convenience?
Yeah, I mean, partly, yeah, but like I'm lucky that he's done other jobs and stuff too, but like we've both always been able to like in ups and downs of my own like career and stuff be able to work doing music, So I'll play with him or like different people, either playing drums or playing guitar. So it's like handy to have that skill.
Yeah.
And when you started your first band, like, did he play with you? Like, kind of after you started writing your own songs?
Yeah.
There was
he
a
was
lineup?
he was an obvious choice.
Yeah. First choice.
He's a great drummer.
Yeah.
He's good. He doesn't play drums much anymore, but at the time he was already he's 6 years older than me, so
Yeah.
he was like already in another band,
Oh, that makes
learning
sense.
to play drums in that band. Really, like he
Yeah.
had barely done it, but he's a talented guy, so he's just like figuring it out. So when I was like, I actually want to, because I'd recorded like stuff before I'd even gone to play live with anybody,
Oh, really?
and because I'd done most of the instruments myself, it was like, oh, okay, now I want to go play this stuff. Who's gonna?
Yeah.
I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
I know
You
a
know,
I
guy.
need people.
Yeah,
He's related to me.
yeah.
I saw something too that you recorded at Henson Studios, like the
did.
one on La Brea, like
yeah,
the
which was
like
the
one
Charlie
on-
Chaplin studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had a recording studio there. Is it even still there? I feel like they tore it down for condos or something.
Oh no, it's one of the ones that's still there. Yeah, I got. So again, that's through playing with Steve Carson and those guys. We met this producer named Rupert Hine. They're mutual friends. Who's this? He's gone now. He's passed away now, but is kind of legendary producer and like avant-garde synth musician.
Oh, nice.
It came up around the same time as like Peter Gabriel, and like they knew each other. And he became a record producer. He did like Tina Turner and did those Duncan Sheik records and all this stuff. So we met him, and he kind of wanted to collaborate with us. So he brought us into Henson just to like for a couple days to like try out some ideas, you know? So yeah, Henson, it used to be A&M Studios.
Right.
So like Tom Petty, all those records, Joni Mitchell, all her stuff. And like We Are the World was there, all that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
that
wow.
space
That's cool.
where
Yeah.
the video was shot too.
Studio A there.
A very
Yeah.
large live room.
Yeah. So it's the Henson lot, and like the Henson company, there's a whole side of the lot that's like the animation studios, and then there's still the recording studio.
Nice.
Cool.
So yeah.
And then Rupert Hine, I think you mentioned him in an interview, like being like a pretty influential kind of mentor figure.
Big time. So I met him through Steve and then stayed in touch with him. And then he'd kind of heard, some of the people at the studio had heard my solo stuff and had liked it a lot and like passed it along to him. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes, you know? It's like I was there with Steve. I didn't want to be like, here's my shit, you know?
Peddling your own stuff.
Yeah, but it just kind of happened naturally over the course of like a couple of years. And the people that ran Henson basically wanted to get into artist management. So they took me on as like their first experiment
Oh, interesting.
as an artist. So they're like, come record a record here for free.
Yes.
Wow.
And then let's see what we can do with it.
That's so rad.
Incredibly cool. The downside of that was come record a record here on the days when we're not booked, which is never.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you had to wait.
So I did a 12-song record, and I think like 13 days of studio time, but it took like a year and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the thing about
So-
favors, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
God bless him. It was an incredible experience. Like the first day I showed up, it was just like me and the guitar, and they like put me in the We Are the World room
That's so rad.
in the center with just like a microphone, and that was it. And they're like, okay, go for it.
That's
Fun
pretty.
shit.
That's
Yeah.
pretty magical. Yeah.
So-
You're
Yeah.
like, okay.
And stressful. Yeah.
Jelly.
And which album was this?
It's called Out of the Canyon on Crutches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tony sent us one of those songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why that title?
Because of some experience I had with someone who lived up in the canyon. It's
Copy
kind of
that.
about the end of-
That's
the end
it's
of that.
intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I like mystery.
So okay, so this might I don't know if this is skipping a lot of years, but how did you end up in Milan?
Okay, so I met a guy, an Italian guy in LA who's like a record producer, through the Henson people, actually.
Oh, nice.
So this is like after that Henson record, I'd already made a couple other things on my own, and with my band at the time, it was like with Dallas Cruz and
Yeah.
Dave Bestie and a few other people.
Dallas, man. He's great.
Is this
He's the man.
He's so
Jameson Co? Or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we were calling it at that point. And then this Italian guy, again, this record producer, had this house in like up by the observatory,
Oh wow.
and he had a studio there, and he was like, come make, I heard your Henson stuff, it's cool. He's like, but I think you should do like a little bit more of a rock and roll thing, and I think we should do it together. Come up to the house, like stay at the house,
Wow.
let's make the record. And through that, come to find out, well, quickly, but the house actually belonged to this guy named Vasco Rossi, who's like the Bruce Springsteen of Italy, basically. He's the man over there. He's
I
been
love that.
around since the 80s. So this guy also produced records with him when he was in LA. And when he was not in LA, he just was a caretaker of the house
Yeah.
and had access to the studio.
Oh, wow.
So we made a record like in basically the kind of the basement studio there. And then I stayed in touch. I did other things after that, but I stayed in touch with them. His name was Severio, the guy that ran the house and producer. Other things happened, and I stayed in touch with them and met Vasco when he was in LA like several times. So he like had a couple of like dinner parties, and like they invited me to like me and a couple other solo artists to come play. And he ended up after a couple of years, invited me to open his tour in Italy
Wow.
Nice.
in
So
2019.
cool.
Yeah.
So what cities like just all over, huh?
Well, this dude's crazy. He books the soccer stadium for like 6 or 8 shows in a row.
Wow, like 6 to 8 nights in the same city.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
In Milan. I think it was 6 or 7 in Milan.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, he's older. He's like 70 years old or something, so he doesn't play every night. But he'll do
Sure.
like 2 in a row and then 2 days off and 2 in a row and 2 days
Oh,
off.
gotcha.
And so it's like 60,000 people. And then there were a couple in Sardinia. It's like in the south.
I bet that was beautiful.
West. Beautiful. So yeah, that was just a really lucky experience. I mean, to be honest, my ex at the time was also Italian. I was with an Italian woman that I met through the Italians in LA.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I stayed in touch with some of the Italian community was just I was like in that world when I was living up in LA at the time.
You speak any Italian?
I'm trying to forget it. No, very
new song.
very little.
Yeah.
I learned. I mean, I was spending a lot of time over there at one point, so I'd get like really basic.
Yeah.
stuff.
So you went over there originally to do the tour, and then you stayed for a bit. Is that?
No, I'd already spent a bunch of time over there because of my ex. To be honest.
Okay, I see.
I'd been around the country and had some friends over there, and so I was already pretty acquainted with Italy by the time I got to go.
That's cool.
Do that
That's
tour,
really
so,
cool. And
yeah.
and were you playing with a band or by
I
yourself?
was playing by myself.
What is that
that's
like?
amazing.
I
I know.
really want to
It's
hear what that's like to just be like you and
That's so
a sea
awesome.
of tiny ant faces.
So I'd known that like he was considering me. I think Severio was trying to like be like, hey, you
Yeah.
like him, you should have him like do this.
Yeah. Shout
And
out.
he'd seen me play in his house with just an acoustic guitar, like after dinner with like 20 people there, Like he'd seen me do that a couple times. He'd come to LA to see my band play too. That was obviously much more energy and, drums and bass and keyboards and stuff. But he liked the solo thing. He's like, I want you to do that.
It's great,
So-
man.
Yeah, I mean, you really have the voice and the guitar ability to carry something like that solo. Like Buckley too, like it seems like even with his band that was amazing, like just he'd still do like solo numbers just because it's really something special when you have those gifts that you can just do.
Well, and him, he's kind of the master of that, right? I think.
But just to be like, on this big stage in this big room and trying to like, I guess, fill that space and make it feel intimate. I mean, that's pretty.
It was crazy. To be honest, I'd toured already more solo than I had with a band. Because I toured with the Rival Sons and a couple other people like around Europe. And because I was an opener with a low budget, not much tour support, it's like,
Can't pay a band.
if I can do it alone,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
do it alone and come home with money rather than
Yeah.
Right.
spend money. So I was lucky to have had a lot of experience playing solo already.
So you had maybe some sort of intermediate step between Tiny
Yeah.
Club and 60,000.
They were doing like, at the most like 2,000 at the
Right.
point when I was
Yeah.
opening
Okay.
for them. But
Training
I
wheels.
It
don't
wasn't
know.
from
I think-
20 people to 60,000.
Yeah, like that's,
No, not quite. But it's like, I don't know. After 2000, it's like
Yeah. It's just a
It might
you
as well be
can't
a
see
million.
anybody anyway.
yeah.
You can see the people right in front of you.
It's just your monitors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, I knew what I was. They told me before this Italian tour, they told me like a month before that it was going to happen. So I had a month of like, all right,
Mental
I'm
preparation.
going to make sure I'm going to be in really good shape and like
Yeah.
actually rehearse, which I never do, and figure out what I'm going to do so I'm confident. But still,
And in
at
a
the-
different language too, so like not much banter to carry you through either, right? Like
at that point, like I could speak okay. I could speak enough to talk to the audience, and I kind of did that once, and it just seemed like
Yeah.
They're like, this isn't
they
what we
can't
want from
talk
you.
back.
the
Yeah, you're
vibe's
the
probably
American.
a lot more like, I mean, it's more intimate because one person playing, so like everyone's probably like super internal taking in the music. So it's almost like more banter would break him out of that,
He's like a rock artist. Like it's like
Right.
and live. So the first date we did, I went out having something in mind what I was going to do. It's like I'm going to do what I normally do. Like I know he's a little bit more rock than I am, but like he brought me here. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
And then so I did the first set, And then I watched his set with his band, and I was like, oh shit, okay. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But if it's here, if it's like on 20, I got to at least be on like 5.
Right. Yeah.
So I did change like my approach and which songs I was doing. And because not to like, I mean, I can't do something that I don't do, but I could push it a little bit. So I did for that tour, like definitely push the rock aspect.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It was just you and your electric.
Yeah, electric.
Is it that Telly that you play, the one with the Bigsby?
No, it's not that one. It was like it's like a hollow body. It's kind of like a 335. It's made by D'Angelico. I bought it for the tour because I'm like, I just need like, I don't know. I think just the hollow body thing when you're by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Gets somewhere in between acoustic and electric.
Yeah, you get that spacious vibe, but you can still, get into effects and whatever.
Right.
Push it a little bit.
And distortion, yeah.
Yeah.
So it worked. It worked out.
Are there any like recordings of that like we could put in show notes of like those shows?
Or like, yeah.
Man, as far as like a proper recording, I don't know. I mean, the best I have is like on my Instagram page, like, the highlights or whatever.
Okay,
There's one highlight that's just that tour. Just like Vasco tour. So you can see clips. I mean, they're all 15, 30-second clips, but
we'll drop
you can
the Instagram in the show notes.
You can get the idea. Yeah.
Jameson makes music, I think. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so cool, man. I mean, like, that's really, again, like, I personally love, like, solo, just electric guitar and voice. Like, Billy Bragg, this, like, who I grew up with, and, like, Buckley, and just people like that. So, love that style. Yeah. So, and it's convenient that, like, I mean, I get for the tour budgeting, like, it's just you and your guitar. It probably just plugged into like an amp that was on tour anyway, so you didn't even have to bring an amp, right?
They they supplied me with one.
Backline kind of thing.
So I get
level. It's like they don't give a shit. They're like, what do you want? Okay, fine.
Yeah. I mean, right. If they've sold out
cool.
a 60,000 seat stadium for 6 nights, I think they can probably get you an amp. Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to downplay too much. I mean, they paid me to be there. It was like, it was still worth
proper.
But,
yeah.
Sure. But they've got some budget for equipment.
Right.
So what was touring with Rival Sons like?
It's great. Well, I'm friends with those guys. Dave, who's the bass player now, was my second bass player. So Johnny was in Whistler, but then I met Dave, a long time ago. He played in my band. And I know Jay, the lead singer, really well from the Gypsy Lounge.
Yeah.
I met all those guys from being in different projects, different bands that were all playing the Gypsy Lounge. So I've known them
all comes back to the Gypsy Lounge.
Since I started, really.
It was the spot.
And those were solo again, right? With Rival Sons.
Yes.
So do you prefer solo or band, like playing with them?
I like both. I think
You're so good at the solo thing.
Well, thanks, man.
Seriously.
But there's nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
You're so good at it.
Like, as an audience member, I kind of really like that, and I almost want to encourage more people to like go for it. Do the solo thing. If you're really good, like, it's really like a cool thing.
Well, it definitely, I think, sort of tests the like, if you have a new song, play it solo, and if it's good, you'll know, and if it's not,
Totally.
Because the song itself has to stand,
Right.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I think I don't know. Musical trends kind of come and go, but I do think that now, in the last couple years, there's really a big taste for solo acoustic music. I mean, you've seen probably all these like house shows that are happening all over the place. The So Far Sounds, but then there's like a million of them now, and people just want to come and sit in rapt attention while you sing to them. It's pretty cool.
Right. It is cool. I mean, I love doing both, honestly. I mean, then there's certain things you can't do by yourself. It's like, it's like being in the studio. It's like, I've got this song. How do I want it to come across? Should it just be me and the guitar? Or, I mean, I love arranging a band. It's like, I love groove and, it's hard to resist filling things out in the studio. And then I love doing it that way live too, and I'm lucky to have great guys playing with me live when I do play.
I mean, it's nice to be able to do both. But you actually did a couple of different arrangements of One More, I think. Right?
I know. I was about to ask. It's kind of like in terms of collaboration, like because the dance remix of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it too soon to talk about this, like in the musical journey?
No, I think we're there.
Well,
we're there. We've arrived.
Italy was 2019, right? Yeah. So we're
here.
I mean, because you put out some stuff in 2020 and 2021, right?
Mm-hmm. One more.
Yeah, and I mean, so like 2019, obviously things were a little different. And then 2020, like what did you do? How did that affect you? And
I was supposed to go on tour with the Rival Sons in 2020, and that obviously got canceled along with everything else.
Yep.
For like a year, I just like wrote and recorded and did videos at home and kept myself busy. And I mean, put out a lot of music that year, mostly like singles and an EP that I like wrote and recorded like kind of within a couple months of like the first lockdown. So it's like I definitely kept really busy. It was a good time for me in that way, you know, to channel things I was going through. I'd just gone through a breakup at the end of 2019 as well. So I'd
Was that the Italian?
yeah.
Yeah.
the Italian.
But yeah, getting back to answer your question. So some canceled tour stuff, and then getting a show, and then not being able to do the show. You know, like all musicians went through that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but just staying with like putting out music, and then in 2021 got to like put out a record. Kind of waited to put it out until we could at least do a release show. You know what I mean? And start playing live again.
Yeah.
Start playing with the band again. So did that. That record's called Right Time. That was in like July of 2021. And then, one more was in a little later that year, I think. Yeah, about a year ago.
Were these songs that were kind of written in the lockdown, or like they kind of came a combination of the breakup and the lockdown?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, on that record, there's a couple like older songs that I'd never found a place for and anything else, but like somehow just totally seemed like they fit. So re-recorded those and
That's
put 'em on
cool.
there.
How did the collaboration happen for one more?
For that remix?
Yeah.
Just a guy in LA that I knew, this dude Rich, who is kind of one of these guys that like puts people together. And he's like, I found you. I found that I love this song. I sent it to this DJ. He loves the song. He likes to collaborate with singer-songwriters. I think it could be like something cool for both of you to like kind of collaborate on. I mean, it's his vision. It's like I wasn't super involved, but it's like, here's all the stems, here's all the stuff, here's like kind of what we're both thinking, and then he just did it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just a random like one-off thing. I mean, it's so different from it's so different from. I'm sorry for the table, not for the guitar. Yeah, it's something obviously totally different than I don't really do like EDM stuff, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
it was
'cause
fun
it's
to
a whole
hear.
new
It
audience.
was fun to hear someone else's take on it. Yeah,
Because that remix might be played. I mean, with EDM audiences like festivals, that song might be played for 60,000 people
yeah.
too.
Right,
So like,
but in a totally different,
different
Right.
way. But it's
60,000 Zoomers in neon clothes or something. Yeah, it was pretty interesting to listen to them side by side because it's like, wow, yeah. I mean, it's kind of neat just from like a geeky perspective of like, wow, you can just take the same like bones of a thing and just make something so different. There's just so many directions.
Yeah.
I mean, do you co-write much? Because I think that's one of the interesting things about co-writing too is like, something you would just never do yourself
Right.
that you might love. And it's just like,
I have in the past. I mean, I don't for my solo project. I really don't co-write like on purpose.
on purpose.
I mean, I've been in other bands that wrote
Yeah.
together, and co-producing is one thing. Like with Andy Carter, who's like kind of my partner. He plays keyboards in my band, and we share a studio together in Santa Ana, and we co-produce everything. But I really like, for my stuff, I like coming in like knowing exactly what I want to say, and
Yeah.
But I've co-written, for like my publishing company in the past, and been in bands that were doing it. But I don't know, for my baby, I just kind of keep that part
Like
to myself.
Jameson Burt is just Jameson Burt.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
I love
on the
it.
writing side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
right. Because you have a publishing deal. So is that kind of like, as I understand it, sort of like almost like gun for hire? Like we need a thing that maybe sounds like whatever for this TV series.
It's part. I mean, that can be part of it. Honestly, that initially started just because Rupert Hine, who we talked about, was in that world as well with this company BMG, who's like based in Berlin, big publishing company, and they just liked that record I'd made, and they're like, "We want to sign you. We want to try to push that record, try to, do something together there." But it's also like at the same time, you have access to, you can get briefs for. This came in, an artist is looking for a song that's like this
Yeah.
or like this. You
Briefs
can
is
co-write
the
them.
word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's cool.
So I did a little bit of that. I put in a couple of years of like consciously like putting time into that kind of stuff. I never really enjoyed it very much, and I never had anything that like took off in that way. Maybe it would feel differently if I had, but I got some things here and there. But after that, it was kind of like, well, if I'm gonna be writing, I really mainly want to be writing for myself. You know.
Yeah, that's
Express
interesting.
that way, yeah.
Because, actually, Lauren, we were talking to Lauren from Ella Voss, and she was really kind of saying like almost the opposite of like, nobody does anything by themselves. And we're like, well, yeah, some people do. But I mean, I think especially when you talk about pop music, like the more, the more you peel back the layers, like, I mean, it seems like almost nobody writes on their own. So,
right. I mean, I love collaboration with other people. I just think the core, like, at least right now, like the core of the song I like having done on my own. And then I love collaborating in the studio on how do we turn that idea into something better,
Speaking of, what's next for Jameson?
Just got a batch of songs in the works.
Nice.
I'm excited about.
Yeah, anything you want to play us? Or even just like a snip of something?
I don't know how to play any of it yet.
Sure.
You know what? That's actually not the first time
valid.
we've heard that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
like
part
too
of the
early.
process. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's not ripe.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like I've shifted the way I like create in some ways. Like now I don't play piano well, but I like the sound of the piano. So I might start a song like with a piano idea or a drum idea or a guitar idea, but really like I'm using the recording of the voice process to write melody and write lyrics. And so I'm not really ever like sitting down with the guitar and singing and like, okay, now I've got a finished song. I'm like more piecing it together. And then it's like, okay, now the recording's done. Now I have to figure out how to do it all at the same time.
right.
You know
So
what I
you
mean?
write more in the studio.
Lately, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
different too, because you may not have really ever played it all as
Together.
a piece.
All the way through.
Or-
Yeah.
and if you haven't toured with it yet, you probably haven't like played it much.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the new stuff's just a little more started with like a drum idea or like a higher energy like band idea. Not all of it, but that stuff I definitely wouldn't know how to do it here yet.
Well,
I mean,
will you play us Driveway?
Oh, you love Driveway.
That song was a lot of things for a lot of people when you put it out.
What year was this, by the way?
this is on the Henson record, so this is probably like 10 years ago or something like that.
Blue light comes on my TV as I'm trying to put myself to sleep. Yeah, my pillow feels like stolen words you said in my bones again. 'Cause when I put things into plain terms, it all comes down. I can't please you. Yeah, when only the moon lights up high. When I own these words will last. Moon creeps in through my blinds. Restless as the sea is my mind. 'Cause you can't change things you've come to expect, and I can't break myself now. With one piece in your hand, even if I could, probably end up giving all to you. Yeah, when only the inside me.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
This was the plan all along. He was like,
man.
"Oh, what if you played?"
Yeah, just what if you play Driveway? You know,
Thanks so much for sharing
Yeah.
your songs, your
pleasure.
story,
Pleasure.
everything.
Right on.
thank you for being
Thank
here,
you.
Jameson.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure, you
Seriously,
guys.
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
JMO.
Well, I didn't hate being serenaded with that 9-string guitar or 8-string or however many strings the damn thing had.
Same.
Just the right amount of strings.
Just enough strings. Lucky you, audience. Jameson has a new EP out. You can check out Motel on Spotify or wherever you get music. You can follow him on Instagram at Jameson Makes Music. And you can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube at Rockwardness. If you would take the opportunity to smash the subscribe, like, or follow button on the platform you're presently listening on, we sure would appreciate it.
Or gently push it, you know.
Well, right, you could just tap it, really.
Greatly appreciated.
And maybe just write a rating and review while you're at it.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take constructive criticism.
Give
If
it
you
to
have
us.
notes, comment box.
Send us an email.
We are so grateful for your continuing support, and we've got way more fire content on the way, so please keep listening. Thank you,
Yeah.
and we'll see you next time.
See you
Later.
next time. Bye.